Greetings Starfleet officers and fans alike. Welcome to another episode of the USS Omnus Chronicles. Today we are diving very deep into the fascinating world of Starfleet International. We are joined by expert panels, expert people on this subject to guide us through this, and some new people as well. And then over and above that, we're also going to be tackling what Star Trek character you want to remove from the TV series or the movies and why. So without further ado, let's get into today's session. And I am happy to say that I am joined by some wonderful people whose faces by now you should know if you've been watching the show quite often. And we have a returning guest as well. We have Commodore John Hardy from the Essex, and we're very happy to have you back again.
Thank you.
It's always a good time to have you on these things. And then obviously we're not going to do the giant introductions, but I am joined by my crew from the Omnus, our recent Lieutenant Junior Craig, who got promoted. He's now obviously gone up in the ranks of the worlds. We've also got Lieutenant Junior Grade David and Lieutenant Junior Grade Hugh and Lieutenant Junior Grade Kieran, who is not available at the moment. He will return shortly throughout the call. So obviously, as mentioned, today's podcast is about SFI, learning a bit more about it because we did dive into it slightly last time. And then the most interesting one, which I'm sure you're all here for, is who do you want to remove from Star Trek movie or TV series and why? Hi everybody.
Hello.
Everyone's so quiet.
No, sorry. I had myself on mute there.
So there's only one acceptable answer for the removal of Star Trek. There's only one person that needs to go. Everyone else can stay.
Well, I have an answer for I almost call him Commander, but he's not Captain. Captain Burnett, who sits behind me. I know his answer, and it's obvious to the rest of you as well. But we'll get into Starfleet first. So we're obviously all part of a organization known as Starfleet International, and a bit more information about that is Starfleet is divided into hundreds of local chapters spread out across the United States and the world. It is in this local chapter that members of Starfleet get together to make friends, meet up, and have a fun time. In keeping with the Star Trek theme, our chapters are each named as a ship of the line or space station. Starfleet chapters range in size from 10 members to several dozen. Some get together and meet in person, while others are correspondence chapters. In these chapters, members who live far away from each other, such as the Omnus, can still exchange messages via email, telephone, and even have a good old-fashioned postal mail, if you want to go back to the old times. Starfleet chapters are grouped into regions, with each region covering a different geographical area. These regions will often hold gatherings where crews of many chapters get together for conferences, parties, charity events, and a wide range of other activities. Starfleet has a chain of command, just like in Star Trek. Each chapter is led by a commanding officer and a first officer. Chapters report to regional coordinators, who form the board of directors for Starfleet and work with an elected 8-member executive committee that serves a 3-year term. A solid chain of command exists to deal appropriately and fairly with any problem or concern a Starfleet member might have with or at any level of the organization. One of the most fun aspects of being in Starfleet is that every member can be assigned a rank if the member chooses and gets promoted for participation in their local chapter or at regional or fleet level as well. New members in chapters can start with introductory ranks such as cadet and ensign and get promoted up through higher ranks like lieutenant and commander. The more active a member participates in any level of Starfleet, the higher rank that member is likely to earn, even captain, commodore, or admiral. Costumes are encouraged in Starfleet for special occasions such as conventions as well as local chapter events and meetings. This is not mandatory, but it can still be fun to dress up in your favorite outfit with your fellow crew members. You can be a member of Starfleet without joining a chapter. You can also be a member of a chapter without joining Starfleet. Some chapters have membership dues that are separate from Starfleet annual subscriptions, and some fans do decide to join either one organization or the other. Starfleet has been running for 50 years, has over 5,500 members, 208 chapters, and is in over 20 different countries.
My favourite part about being part of SFI is the different courses you can take, and I mean, you need to take certain courses to be an officer, an enlisted officer, and once you pass them, then you can sort of go up the ranks. But there's a vast array of stuff that you can decide to do courses on. Anything from, like myself, I've done stuff on delving deeper into the actual technical aspects of all the different enterprises, at least. I will probably go on to do more on different other starships. But yeah, there is, from what I've seen, there's hundreds of different courses you can do, and they are all online, and most of them you get your results back pretty much straight away. A few of them you need to send off and get somebody to mark for you, but yeah, just sitting going through all the middle, it's called middle courses. It's brilliant. There's loads of stuff to learn on and catch up on, and delve a lot deeper into, should you wish to.
I think we will go on to the main point is the sorry, my brain broke for a second. What character you want you don't want to be in Star Trek, and why?
Well for you. Wesley Crusher. That's all that needs to be said. He's awful.
I feel like that'll be a common answer here.
Yeah, he's just, everyone else can get away with, but just Will Wheaton, come on. Yeah, he's all right as an actor. It's just his character he plays. It's just annoying. That's my take anyway.
I get that. I mean, I think part of it was due to the time that it was set. I mean, he started off as a character in the late 80s, and the first few seasons of Next Generation look more dated than the rest. It's not as timeless, so to speak. The way people interact and the way they were treating him as a kid to start with, and Picard's whole disgust of, I don't want any kids on board a ship, let alone on the bridge and stuff like that. I don't know why they gave me this command and all that. But as he went along, it wasn't so bad. But in some aspects, it is a bit hard. I mean, you see all these people in Star Trek that are spent such a long time training to be Starfleet officers and working their way up the ranks, not only to get themselves a higher rank, but to be able to get on board like bigger and better ships like the Enterprise flagship. And then you've got some scrawny wee kid who comes along and because his mum knows the captain, all of a sudden he's like piloting the ship all over the place.
Yeah. Well, him aside, I think the one for me would be, I don't know what other people think, but Michael Burnham. I think the characters, it's for me, she's not Starfleet. It's all about her. It's what's best for her. Everything's about her. And for me, she uses everyone else to get what she wants. And that to me is not a good captain. Does that make sense? She's so emotional. You've got to be calm and collective. Just chill out. Stop crying at everything.
And I think for the first 3 seasons, there wasn't an episode where she wasn't reduced to tears for something. And it was like, not everything is that emotional. I mean, fair dues when people die and stuff like that, but it was like, they were trying to like reach and get people's hearts, build people's heartstrings and stuff like that a bit more than they should have done. And but as time goes by, I guess she did sort of progress as a character, and as she moved up to captain, and she was less emotional and more able to cope with things and stuff. So, to start with, she was
That face disagrees.
she's a bit of an annoying character.
I thought she got worse.
You think she's worse?
Yeah, I thought she for me she was getting worse and worse the more the Discovery went on. She would just, I don't know, she just felt like she'd just stab you in the back and throw you under the bus if she got her way. She'd say one thing. She had this Lorca vibe about her, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about me and what I'm going to get out of this.
Where?
Yeah.
For me, I think if there's one person I could remove from any of the Star Treks, and somebody who contributed very little to the franchise that they were in, would be Kes from Voyager. She didn't. I don't know. I mean, I guess it was a good way to get Neelix on board, and you learned about the compa and stuff like that. And but maybe it was just the fact that the writers done not very much with her character, considering she had all these supposed mental abilities that they never really scratched on until that one episode where she came back and almost blew up a ship. But it's like, what can you do with a character that is like already like 3 years old, or they only live till 9? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know she's going to die before they reach the 7th season, so it's yeah. She just, I mean, they did sort of, her interactions with, the best of her was their interactions with Tuvok when they were exploring her mental capabilities and stuff like that, and that was kind of cool. But I think that was more down to Tuvok and his and that actor bringing more to his character and trying to bring her along for the ride than her genuinely giving anything of substance to it. I think the only thing she actually brought to Voyager was a conduit for the Doctor to become more than just a hologram, but they could have fit that in with any other character, really.
I thought Neelix got better and better. It was a little bit annoying in the first couple of the series, and towards the end he was a lot better. In my opinion, I liked him by the time Voyager finished.
Yeah,
Neelix, but
he was good.
S just made no sense to me. It felt like she was another Denise Crosby. Didn't know what to do with him. You know, thinking of Lord, I'm like, what? I don't know what to do, and then
Yeah, that's another one. Tasha was a good character. If anything, it was Worf who seemed like an afterthought of a character. In the first couple of seasons, he was just sort of like the muscle in the background in case anything kicked off. But I mean, Denise Crosby, an actor, showed how much she could do when like they brought her character back in yesterday's Enterprise, and then continued it on through her progeny as a Romulan human person, and it showed the extent of what she could do, because that character was absolutely brilliant and she was great in the role.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that the Commodore doesn't necessarily have a person. He has a different spin on what he wants to remove. So,
alright,
what you can tell us what it is that you want, or don't want in this case.
So section 31.
Section 31.
Yeah, section 31.
Alright, okay.
I'm sure a few people would agree with you on that.
I like him.
In no present Star Trek.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I kind of like Section 31, and that there's, I think as humans, there's never been a time where there's not been some sort of clandestine organisation in the background looking out supposedly for us all, but that was never Gene Roddenberry's idea of what Starfleet and the Federation should actually be. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that one. I think for it to be realistic, I know it's not, it's Star Trek, but I think you have to have a Section 31 in the background somewhere. You know, because not everything's all rosy and sunshine and
Yeah, I guess you have a point there.
rainbows and whatnot. So
Yeah, I mean they did come into their own with the war with the Dominion. I mean, if it wasn't for them, and finding the disease that could kill off the founders, things might have turned out a bit differently. But I mean, in aspects like that, I mean, I guess you're glad of organisations like that. But again, I was never really Gene Roddenberry's idea that humans would be like that anymore. That would have we've moved on from that sort of that sort of school of thought about how to be as a group of people.
Yeah, to better mankind than each other. So that's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Of the section, it's more. That's not what we were doing then, is it? Not we're saying this, but we're actually doing this.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
And David?
Where do I even begin with this list? I honestly don't know. So we'll go with the obvious ones already been mentioned. Cass, get her out of there. Really served no purpose other than for the Doctor's growth. 2 Vix, gotta go. Gotta go. Yeah, 2 Vix, gone. Not 2 Vok, 2 Vix, the combination. So, but I'm going to go with a very unpopular opinion here. And I love the actor. Just celebrated, I believe, his 78th birthday. Avery Brooks. Cisco has got to go.
That was mine as well.
Yeah. Okay, I like that one.
That was going to be mine.
Yeah. Understand that. Yeah.
And it might be the same trap that we get with Michael Burnham. I consider it lazy writing. The whole emissary thing and being basically a deity and stuff like that. It was just, okay, we're reaching. I mean, his command in the Dominion War, I felt, was probably the best I got out of everything, but the writing just fell short in trying to develop it. I mean, he came in, he's a very stern character, he's a very stern commander, and it carried over to being a very stern captain, but I don't feel that the character development or the growth into softening him up a bit happened the way that it should. We've seen so many awesome things with Avery Brooks in it, and as an actor, he has spectacular range, and they kind of kept him confined in the box. And I'm just not a fan of Benjamin Sisko.
Yeah, it was sort of as if, well, I mean, it probably wasn't, but it came across to me as if they wrote in the Dominion to give him something to get his teeth into, because his character was so militaristic. He suited that sort of role of being a sort of like quite a stern and sometimes very ruthless military tactician. It seems like sometimes the Dominion story arc was written in to fit around him rather than anything else.
Yeah, do you think
I can get that?
If he was on a starship and it wasn't on DS9, do you think he'd have been a better character because that character just didn't fit in with the old space station thing? You know, do you reckon that's what it would
possibly be? It depend, and we'd have to delve into that. I mean, it depends on the type of starship he was on. I mean, you're not going to see him on a medical frigate. That's just not going to happen. But with with an NX class, that's completely a top secret, specialized, ship like we see with the Defiant. That was built specifically for militaristic activity. I'm sure if you put him on like a heavy cruiser or something of that nature, or even a Constitution class, I think he would have been a lot better, the character-wise, but I also think that if you were going to do a Benjamin Sisko, that type of character, on a starship, you would have to do some kind of bridge between the Enterprise television show with the NX-01 and, well, let's go with Strange New Worlds, because that's what's now preceding TOS. So we'd have to see where Starfleet is coming out of more of a militaristic episode in their history and eventually branching into being explorers. I think that would have been very interesting. And especially you could have wrote it in a way that it's like you get this guy softening up into more of the exploratory as opposed to militaristic approach.
So sort of an area like the USS Franklin, where they just come through the war, and they were all soldiers that were brought into Starfleet sort of area kind of thing. I think it'd have been perfect for that area, and just with it being on DS9, which was all about with the families, shops, and all that. I get that. That's why I think, like you said, they brought the Dominion in.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe even make him a commander of MACO.
Yeah.
You know, I that would have been a very interesting, which would actually I think would be a great series. You know, to explore that avenue of Starfleet.
Yeah, I think if he was put on a ship, the person I'd most compare him to would be Edward Jellicoe. Took over the Enterprise when for a couple of episodes, and he was very stern, militaristic, wasn't interested in making too many friends or with the crew or anything like that. It was like, I'm captain, I'm in charge, get it done as I say, when I say it. I mean, that I guess that the characters have their role in Starfleet. I mean, Starfleet wouldn't be about if they didn't have people who knew how to kick some ass when it came to people who were trying to either take over or infiltrate or bring down the Federation or whatever. So, it doesn't make for the best television viewing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even in comparison, if you look at the first season of TNG, Picard was a bit standoffish and stern.
Yeah.
Where eventually, so he kind of had that same presence about him, but as you got into season 2 and then season 3, and as the series progressed and even through the movies, the character softened up. You started seeing more of a humanistic side to him, and you know, it made you fall in love with the character. As to where with me personally, with Sisko, he just kept, you know, there was that wall. You can't penetrate. Like it's not. I'm not saying he didn't care for us.
I don't want to watch DS9. It's because of him.
Yeah, they sort of got him off on the wrong foot because everybody had been had fallen in love with Picard as a character, and then when he was very standoffish against Picard because the whole cutest thing killed his wife, which you get, but it just set him off on the wrong foot, I think, with people, because people were a bit like, wait a minute, Picard's like 10 times the man you could ever be, so like, I get off your high horse and bugger off.
But there is something interesting that I found that Craig mentioned a while ago that he found online, and I think it could be quite interesting for us to delve into even just a little bit. What do you think would have happened, or not? Do you think would have happened, but do you think that a Borg spin-off for an origin story could have been quite interesting? Because I would love. I find the Borg quite fascinating.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd always want to know more about who was the very, very, very first Borg, and where they came from and stuff like that. And obviously the theory is that 7 of 9 and Picard's minds are wiped, so they don't really know that. But what do you guys think about that?
I'm kind of on the fence about it because I love the Borg and would love to see an origin story. But I think at the same time, if you did that, you would wind up losing the mysteriousness about the Borg, the threatening, the posture that they have. I think it's kind of like, you know, in comparison to the Joker, the DC comics with Batman, you know, one of the reasons that he is such a popular character, not just because of his insanity and sadist attitude is you really don't know anything about them, so everything is speculation. So I think I'm on the fence. I would love to know everything there is about the Borg, but at the same time, it's like I feel like giving them an actual origin story might take away from their villainy.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, their origin story would need to be done really, really well. I mean, I must admit, personally, I always assumed to start with the Borg, if there was an origin story, it would revolve around a certain species creating cybernetic implants for themselves, and then going down the route of like a bit like from Terminator with Cyberdyne Systems. It's like the AI would take over and wipe out all the humans. But it wasn't until Voyager sort of touched on the fact that there could be an origin story for the Borg, and although they've never ever explored it, there could be an origin story for the Borg based around sentient AI, and that actually taking over ships. And then moving, and then replicating, and then moving on as it did in Voyager, in Discovery, taking over the minds of different humans and building on it from there. But I think either way would be quite cool. It would, like David said, it would need to be done really well because they are the most sort of villainous, scary adversary that the Federation's ever faced. I mean, it's like, yeah. I must admit, I would like to see it. I think it'd be brilliant to explore that.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with what you said there. It would have to be written perfectly. It couldn't just be half-heartedly done. You couldn't just like, oh, we decided just to stick an extra eye on, and then it went from there. No, you need to progress and do it properly. And then what made them turn into their perfection, their idea of perfection, what made them then decide, you know what, let's go and take on everyone else. Yeah, it'd have to be done really well on over a few seasons. You couldn't just do it in like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, and there'd probably have to be, for them to become across as so villainous, you would have to have some sort of emotional interest in whatever species they first took over, or the people that they first took over at least. So it would need to be a progressive thing, whereas maybe it didn't fully start going into full Borg until like maybe the 2nd or 3rd season, after we've got through the try to like maybe fend them off for the first couple of seasons. But there need to be some sort of emotional connection to the people that they actually take over, I think, to start with, for them to maintain that sort of villainy that they have throughout the rest of Star Trek.
I do agree that if you did something like that, like they did, it would get rid of the mystery, because I think that what makes them so scary is you don't know where they've come from, you don't know their backstory, they just appeared one time and they are scary, and I think you've got to be careful not to lose that.
Yeah.
It's probably a combination between a Romulan and a Vulcan decided to, one day, hey, let's see what we can create.
You are. It probably would be. So it sounds Romulan, doesn't it? It's not Swedish.
Well, I've actually heard a fan theory that the reason all the Romulan tech is like the ships and the tech is all green coloured is because it has something to do with Borg origins. Because they have a green sort of everything of theirs is lit up green and coloured that way.
Yeah, that's one of the theories out there, is the Borg were a Romulan creation. But then you have, and I think we hit on it like one of the episodes of the podcast earlier. I think it may have been episode 2, where we were talking about how, Borg technology was discovered, by Earthlings during the time of the NX-01. But that also ties back into how the entire franchise was rebooted with the events of First Contact. So because you've got Command in Discovery, in season 2 and all that stuff. So it's gonna definitely take the perfect script to make it happen, and we're talking at least 3, maybe 4 seasons of more than just 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I think as well it's the fact that they touched on that sort of sect of the Tal Shiar in Picard, who were desperately trying to stop that artificial intelligence from coming through, and it was like a religion to them. It's like it gave more credence to the fact that the Romulans had something to do with it.
Well, guys, apologies, but I'm going to have to go. Have a great evening. I apologise.
No problem. Take it easy, man. Catch you later.
Enjoy your day.
I have another question, and I don't know if it is a thing or not. Do you guys think, like you said, there's worshippers out there and stuff? I could have missed it, or it's still something that I need to watch. But do you guys ever think that there's Borg worshippers out there?
I don't recall them ever hitting on that in the series at all. It would be kind of weird, I think. But not that there isn't precedent for that in other science fiction shows. When people get scared and stuff like that, they believe in all sorts of things and worship all those sorts of things to like try and keep themselves safe. So it's something. Yeah, I guess I've never really thought about having to delve into it that way, must admit.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at it from a series standpoint, there might be a few civilizations that, pay homage to the Borg, and the Borg therefore don't assimilate their technology. And they could be, they could be one of these, species that haven't developed technologically as far enough for the Borg to even consider to be worth. But it might be one of those things that, they're using their star systems as a way of developing their transwarp conduits and their hives and things of that nature as to travel to various sectors. So, I mean, it's definitely possible. It's probably something like the Acampas or whatnot. So, since we're going to get back on Kess here and hating on her. So it definitely a possibility. I do know in the real world that there is a Star Trek kink, and we won't go into that because this is not that type of podcast.
No, we won't go into that. But what made me think about it was I think it was the second new Star Trek movie that came to my mind, where they obviously were on that planet that they weren't supposed to be seeing, and then the people see the ship and they're like, oh my gosh, and they start trying to figure out how to build the ship because obviously Kirk was trying to save Spock, and that made me think of maybe there's people like that worship the Borg like that. You never know.
It's possible. The Borg really don't have a prime directive. So if they interfere with anybody, but again, they're also looking for technological capabilities and uniqueness in civilizations. So in contrast, Kirk didn't care. It's Kirk. He's gonna do whatever Kirk wants to do. He's gonna break the prime directive, whether it be temporal or not. It's one of those things that, like that, as you're in comparison, like if it was that society in that one that movie, I don't think the Borg would even been interested in such a culture, not for maybe several thousands of years.
Yeah, I think that although it would be really interesting to explore as much as we know about the Borg so far, and there's still a lot to know about the Borg because there's still so much we don't know. What we do know so far is that if they want your technology, they'll take you over. If they want your space or any region, they'll take you over just for the fact that they'll have a couple million more drones or whatever. they don't seem to have much interest in having anybody worshipping them or anything like that. But in saying that, there's that some of the aspects that have been brought out by the Borg Queen in the different movies and episodes, particularly Voyager and First Contact. Who would have thought that the Borg had one person that was sort of in control, because it's meant to be a collective. So there are idiosyncrasies of the Borg that we know nothing about, so it's entirely possible, yeah.
John, Kieran, do you guys have anything?
I did read
to add?
somewhere, I can't remember what it was now, on Reddit, that's it, on Reddit. They reckon the Borg was in the motion picture. The first original movie. The technology, you know, if you look at what they were.
Yeah, there's been some. I've heard theories about Voyager being the start of it, and just because it's went around the universe for so long, collecting information, and it's quite similar to the Borg, in that fact. That could be one to explore as well. Actually, that'd tie everything into the first movie quite nicely. Actually, in a big circle. That'd be kind of cool.
It's almost like, Shakespearean, that humans are the creation of their own downfall.
Yeah. Our complete innocence of wanting to explore space and the unknown leads to our demise, because we're not aware of what could actually happen. Yeah. It'd be very interesting to explore that. Yeah.
I think Kieran has something to say.
I'm just agreeing what Shu said about the Voyager probe.
And since we didn't get your answer before we ran away, what would you remove from Star Trek, whether it be a person or a group or?
I think Tess at Voyager.
Seems to be the popular answer.
I could say 79.
One person, and this might be a bit controversial, one person who is great in his role, provided a lot of comedic relief in the films, the original films, but didn't really contribute anything specifically to canon or how Star Trek or Starfleet sort of evolved over the years, is Chekhov. I mean, he was always there, and he's a great character, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't like to see him go, but if you removed him, would it really be that different?
Not really.
I mean, he did get a bug put in his ear.
I suppose, yeah.
And that's stuff falling.
Yeah, Khan would have needed to find a different way to get all the information he needed on Kirk, I suppose.
But I mean, it's easily, you could have taken somebody like McCoy or Uhura or even Sulu for that matter, and did the same thing. So I get what you're saying about Chekhov. I mean, yes, it was great comic relief. I'm trying to go back through his service record in my head, and yeah, I have to agree with you. It's not like he's made that much of an impact.
It's not super memorable.
Yeah, other than saying, like, I'm looking for nuclear vessels. That's why I said vessels.
So, yeah, he was Walter Koenig. It was, or I think I'm pronouncing that correct. It was is the one original Star Trek cast member who was never afraid to get involved with the whole Star Trek fan base movies and stuff like that. He was always like, yeah, I'll be in them, no problem. I'll give credence to them by like playing an admiral or something like that in the future and stuff. And it was he was in quite a few, and it was always good to see him crop up in them.
I know he makes a big impact on Star Trek Online, the video game. In Command of the Enterprise J, which is by far the absolute version of the Enterprise, in my opinion. But yeah, just to add to that, he does make an impact in that storyline. Unfortunately, not canon.
Yeah, and it's good to see that I think it was Picard at the I.S.S. Chekhov, or was there a Chekhov class ship or something like that? There was something to do with that. I can't remember exactly what.
It was in Picard. It was the Admiral at the end. He was a commander in Starfleet, Admiral Chekhov. But it was
oh right, that was it. Right, yeah, cool.
He was named after Anton. They called him Admiral Anton Chekhov.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, in Picard they done the Nog class.
Yeah,
Yeah, USS Nog.
Yeah, Picard was good for that actually.
Well, not Picard.
Picking up with all these.
But no, Discovery they done in the future. They did a ship called the USS Nog.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, quite a lot of them, Picard and Discovery and all that, have been really good about just people who have been either influential in the Star Trek world or science world, like having the Sagan class in Picard and stuff like that. And a nod to all these people. There's even a what you call them? There's even a Gagarin class starship as well, which I thought was really cool and all. You see all these things pop up, and it's just like, ooh, get really geeked out about it. It's awesome.
That's perfect and wonderful. So I think that is where we will call it for today. It is a relatively short one, but the next one promises to be quite interesting. I can promise you that. We are going to have the Scottish Klingon garrison joining us for our next episode, so do keep an eye out for that one. But until then, thank you so much to everyone for watching. Thank you to all of my wonderful guests and co-hosts and you wonderful people on the screen with me for joining. I really do appreciate it, and it's always fun talking to you guys. We will put information about SFI Region 20, the USS Essex, and the Omnus down in the description. If you have any questions or want to know further information, please feel free to reach out to us. And I think because I like the way David did the last sign off, I'm going to give it to you to end the podcast for us with a special sign off.
I honestly don't remember what I said.
You on the spot.
Thank you for joining us today on the Omnus Chronicles. We wish you safe journeys and travels. May you reach your destination safely. Jolon true. Live long and prosper. USS Omnus, signing off.